Are you ready? Okay. Tonight we have the privilege of being with Dr. in his office in Portland, Oregon. And I'm really excited because Dr. Lynden Smith has agreed to interview with us. And he's very interested in our program for infant swim training for instructors, and also just our program for infant swimming. Recently I've sent out a questionnaire to several doctors in the Portland area, received very positive responses, but we felt because Dr. Smith has written some books and because he has been on television and is very well known for his interest in preventative health for small children and babies, that we felt he probably would be best qualified to answer some of the questions that we wanted to talk to and have addressed tonight about infant swimming. So I think you see behind us a couple of books that you've written, and you're in the process of writing another one.
That's right, more about adults, because a lot of adults don't know how to eat properly, and they're all falling over before their time. And I don't know everything about adults, and I don't know everything about children, but I'm sure learning fast. And one of the things I'm learning fast is that how many things that children, and even small babies, are capable of, what they're capable of learning and feeding and noticing, that lends all sorts of support to what Freud said about closeness and handling and self-image and trust and whatnot. It all makes so much sense. And we, in our present sort of mechanistic way of rearing children, you know, he's hungry, feed him. He's sick, give him an aspirin. There's not enough of the old kind of holding and loving and whatnot. And I think to a certain extent the basic thing that you're really doing is not just teaching kids how to swim or survive or, you know, learn about the importance of water and what it does for you and against you, is really is a mechanism to getting a mother or father and a child together, which really makes so much sense because they don't know how to do it. It's almost scary for a father to hold a baby. He doesn't know what to do with this kid. But in the water, he knows what to do. He can bounce, he's this fun, and it gives them a mechanism through which to work, where they couldn't just pick it up by themselves before. And we were learning about all this touching and holding and feeding and massaging and rubbing and whatnot, that it's not a sexual thing that so many people are so scared you don't touch a baby because they'll learn to depend on that. This is all just communication. Children, babies especially, need to know they get the face and the smile and the humanness, the eye contact, and they know I'm acceptable, I'm okay in this family. And if it can be done in the convenience and warmth and pleasure of a swimming situation, that's, you know, it's all, you know, so much the better, because it's usually done just with the mother nursing the baby, and that may not be enough. And to a certain extent, a swimming program would allow a father to make this kind of flesh-to-flesh contact, which we really all need. I think I missed that as a child, and I think that I've had trouble communicating sometimes with people, except on a verbal way, because I didn't get that, because my parents were very kind of, well, maybe a little stiff, maybe a little Victorian, and they didn't see that that was an important thing, and as if I was looking for it, but then I didn't get it, so you just kind of shrug your shoulders.
That's interesting that you brought out that point about the father, because I've believed that for a long time. I think in the last 12 years, it's been interesting for me to see how fathers are taking more and more of an interest in the raising of the small child, and also just handling the babies. They're just better at it than they used to be.
If they can have some needful things, instead of just going out and making a living and bringing money back, and here's some money, buy the kids some diapers or whatnot, or some food, but he doesn't know what to do with the child, and this gives them a way to do that. I was relegated to changing diapers, and then there was a bath, and then I got to enjoy it. I got to even feed a kid every once in a while. They'd smile at me, and I was like, this is great. And I remember with our children, they're 26 to 31 years of age now, and it wasn't right for the father going to the delivery room, and I should have done that. That was really my job. I was supposed to kind of help hold things together, and I didn't understand it, and I've missed a lot. And I hope people will understand that your program is not just a swimming or survival thing. It's a contact. It's a human thing. It's a relationship that you're developing.
Yeah, that's I'm really excited that you even pointed that out, because one of the reasons why we have our clinics for babies that are under 8 months, because we start the babies in their actual workouts. We consider it an athletic workout,
right? And
we start them in those workouts at 8 months of age. But under 8 months of age, we're putting on clinics, and we put them on Saturdays so daddies can be there.
Perfect. And
another interesting thing that I've seen is, you know, a lot of families are blown apart these days. But one of the things we've seen and had the privilege of seeing is even in those families where parents are separated, we've seen them coming together for the sake of the child.
That's great, yeah.
And maybe daddy will bring little one to lessons, or then maybe mama will bring little one to lessons, but we're seeing that happen. And for me, that's really a heartwarming thing to see families being put back together. One family in particular that I saw really come together is I had a child that was placed in a foster home that had cerebral palsy that we worked with. And the foster parent was taking care of the child primarily because the mother just couldn't handle his handicap. The mother was a good mother. She had other children at home that she was mothering quite well, but this handicap just blew her away. And the foster parent brought the child to us. We trained the child, and then the foster parent got the real mother to come and watch what the child was doing, and the mother took him home.
Yeah.
And then a couple of years later, he became a very important.
She knew what to do. She knew what to do.
Yes, she had hope.
She thought the child's arm or leg would fall off or something, you know.
She had hope because she saw them be able to achieve something, and something that she never believed he could achieve. And of course, he was achieving it at a younger age than a lot of kids out there that had everything together. So we saw something really special, you know. And for me, why that was worth 12 years of experience, you know, to get the knowledge.
Getting routine.
Right.
I would think I would wonder if there are really any contraindications to the swimming program, because I would think it would be valuable for everyone. I can see the possibility there's not the inner ear trouble, which comes from infections and sore throats and germs migrating through the tubing up to the ear, but I would think it's more related to the outer ear infections that some people are prone to, which may have something to do with not getting the ear dried out. There's a thing called otitis externa that comes, a lot of swimmers get, or the swimmer's ear thing that we often see in the summer. It's a very painful sort of thing, but it's supposed to be wax and bacteria and moisture in there that starts to grow. It's a good culture media, so it grows and stretches, and this is screaming pain. It's not an inner ear, so it's just from fluid left in there. It is. Is there? Do you have like a little cotton thing that you pull out with? Some people, we dip it in alcohol and just and a wipe. Because alcohol is a very drying agent, and that would help to dry the ear if they're susceptible to that condition.
Well, that's a good recommendation, and I think for parents who have children that might be susceptible to that condition, this would be really wise to advise them.
Do this, you know, and get the water out of our ear, but a baby wouldn't understand how to do that, so maybe that would be a worthwhile thing.
That would be a very good
thing. They probably should at least have somebody look at their ears before the program starts, because you know, perforated eardrums are not supposed to get moist, because fluid can go in and drag bacteria in deeper into a middle ear infection situation, so that could be dangerous. I know that when kids are bathed or shampooed that have that, you know, they've got the tubes in their ears, they put Vaseline and then cotton, and then that is a water seal, so maybe that would allow that, you know, the swimming program to continue. If they have that and something to hold that in place, that makes it all kind of
Sure. We have a little boy right now that's been swimming with us for quite a while. He had a susceptibility to ear problems, and his pediatrician advised a specialized type of plug. In fact, I've never seen anything like it. Yeah, it fits his ear canal, and you know, you can't hear me very well, but he swims anyway. And we have never seen, of course, our family's been involved with infant swimming for 40 years. I've been in it for 12, and then my aunt was in it for something like 35, and then my uncle was in it, you know, a few years longer than that. So in all that period of time, we haven't seen a higher percentage of children coming out of the program with ear infections as opposed to the average child out there. We should be having nothing but, you know, 100% ear infections if this were true.
That's right.
So I felt that it was really interesting, you know, to address that particular question, because I know there has been a question in some people's minds about whether swimming would cause, you know, problems with the ears. But what we say to our people is that it will not cause a problem to the ear, but if the child does have a problem with the ear, no swimming until pediatrician says so.
That's only smart.
You know, and then that way we certainly would never run any contra advice to a pediatrician. We will not put ourselves in that position.
Have you had any children, in your experience, that have had cleft palates that had trouble? We know that children with a short palate are more susceptible to ear infections because the anatomy is off, and I would wonder if they wouldn't be able to hold their breath properly. They go underwater and fluid would go in the nose and run around there, because you have to kind of shut your palate or hold your breath.
Right.
And maybe they'd have
Now, see,
difficulty.
the cleft palate thing is really a new idea that you brought up to me. I've never had a child in all of my years of teaching that has been brought to me with that particular problem. I don't know, maybe because of your
somebody
concern,
told them not to
maybe
go or
they
something.
didn't, you know,
Yeah.
and so I have
We'll have
never
to try it
seen
here and see
one.
what
Yes,
happens.
well, I don't know. You can try them.
How about, now, some people complain that their skin gets very dry if they're in the water, especially with some chlorine, and they have to put some oil on, but that's a problem. They can figure out that for themselves. What about the, what was the other thing I had in mind about swimming, and maybe somebody is not coordinated or klutzy, and they can't get the idea of holding their breath when they go underwater, or doing it. But they learn that rather quickly, don't they? There's no
That is part of the training. We actually do teach the children how to hold their breath. Actually, with the smaller babies, that's a natural response.
Yeah.
But a lot of people, or I shouldn't say a lot, but there are some people that are concerned, you know, that the child doesn't know how to do that and won't do that. But they do. They know how to do that. And usually, because we do take the children underwater on their very first lesson with us, the response sometimes is not always, oh, this is wonderful. They're a little bit startled, a little bit upset with the whole idea, and they'll cry. And actually, their crying helps me as an instructor, because I know how to time their breathing. I know exactly when to put them under. And actually, I'd rather have a crying baby to handle on the first few lessons than one that wasn't crying. See, now a lot of people don't know that. When they see this film, this will be the first time that they'll have heard that.
Very good, yeah. The other thing is about the temperature changes. I know that I can remember I loved to swim as a kid. It was the one sport I could kind of compete with myself, because I couldn't run fast enough. I had trouble with baseball and whatnot, but swimming, I could do it. And it was that I'd swim, and then I noticed that my mother would, I guess that's what got me, that my fingers would turn, my toes would turn blue after a while, and you're standing out in the pool, you know, shivering and all goose pimply. And there is a temperature change and the water evaporating from the skin. Are there ways to monitor that, or the sessions, individual sessions aren't that long?
No, they aren't that long, and we're very, very picky about the water temperature. When we deal with a pool, we deal with it on a contract basis, and we spell out the conditions that we will go in and rent a pool.
Okay.
And one of those conditions is water temperature. The other thing is our workout seems short to the parent, but they're plenty long enough for the child. And one of the things we always caution the parent about, even at our infant swim clinics, for instance, when we have an infant swim clinic, we do in 1 hour period of time, we tell the parent, we can teach you in 1 hour period of time how to get your child adjusted and ready for infant swim survival training, which we don't call our classes swimming classes, we call them swim survival training, and there is a big difference because we aren't a water adjustment program. We actually teach the children survival skills so that if they were ever left around the water and they accidentally fell into the water or crawled into the water, with this training they're taught to flip over, get on their back and float and yell until somebody at least comes and gets them.
Perfect.
And then, of course, after their confidence is there, we go on and then we modify those skills and we begin to teach them form training. Hopefully some of them will go on, and some of them have gone on into competitive swimming.
How about the child that's maybe a little bit older, and the one that's really a scaredy cat, the 2-year-old that's sitting there doing this and just and won't go near the pool? And I've had some people try this technique. It takes about 6 months. They're in the pool and having all this fun and hoping the child will say, that looks like fun, and they'll get in, but they just sit there and rock for all that 6 months.
No way. Our program isn't that way at all. The child is there. We let them know that we love them. And one of the things we feel is that child needs confidence. And the point is we have the confidence, and we transfer confidence to the child, and we try to transfer confidence to the parent.
Right.
So the most important thing for us is we go ahead with the program as though the child wasn't fearful at all. We ignore the fear totally. We never give into it. We feel that if you give into fear, you reinforce it. So basically what we simply say is we go through that. Every time the child goes through the program in the training patterning that we give them, when they come through that training patterning, always reward with hugs and praises and how wonderful they did. Even if they're crying, even if they're mad as wet hens or whatever.
It finally works through.
Yeah.
Something that I found that children do better in school and do better with stress situations if they've eaten, not a lot, but some small amount of food, so their blood sugar is even. Not some sugary thing, but some peanuts or nuts or seeds or a piece of cheese or something that would kind of keep their blood sugar even. I've also found these scaredy cats do better if they've had some B vitamins and calcium. Now that would be an individual thing, it wouldn't be something that you would want to prescribe, but the kid that really is having trouble and just hates the whole situation because it's a new thing and he's scared to death, he might respond if these things are given about an hour before he goes. And I've had lots of children in situations they're faced with that they have to go and do it, and they take some B and calcium and they get some little bit of food and they go there. It's okay.
Well, that makes good sense, because every once in a while we do have children come through the program that I say in my mind, this is a child that's hypertensive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
They're just,
yes.
And what is too cold? It's,
yeah, they're just really hypersensitive to so many different things. And I hadn't thought about that, but that does make sense, because we do know that we feed our nervous system. And I am really interested in preventative medicine. I'm interested in preventative anything.
Right.
Because I feel that any time we can prevent an accident, or we can prevent an illness, or we can promote good health, I think the natural way to go about protecting our children, protecting ourselves, even as families and adults, is the God-given way.
Yes. Yeah.
I really do. I'm very excited about what you're doing in preventative medicine. I think it's fantastic. I am referring here to this questionnaire that I sent to you some time ago, and the answers on here, of course, pleased me very much, because they weren't answers in which I was eliciting certain responses from you, because they were very, you know, I think objective. As an objective personality, I just wanted to see a questionnaire. I just wanted to see really how you would answer some of these things. But I was really excited that you answered in the way that I'm thinking too, and I thought philosophically we're very close in a lot of our areas, and that made me feel really good. Also,
the important thing is to give a kid a good self-image. That generation has to take care of us in our old age, and if we're not nice to them somehow, they'll forget us.
That's
and
good.
when you're 80 and you're trying to find the bathroom, you know, the kid's supposed to be there. It's in there, you know. That's what we need.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about is, and of course there's so much public opinion on this now and so much talk about it, the latest films that came out of Russia. I noticed that you were one of the few doctors that had probably taken the time to see it.
Yeah, I know about them. I remember seeing little sketches of it, but not that much, But I think that's part of the thing, that the original stress that we've all had is the stress of birth, not only to the mother who delivered us, but to us when we get our heads squashed as we're coming out. And that can be a traumatic thing. And if the obstetrician is kicking us around, or you get dropped on the floor, well, that's, you know, wow, what kind of a world is this? Because babies sense those things. They know it's happening. So the underwater birth and the quiet Le Boyer method, the French doctor who had them put in a bath right away at the same body temperature, and then eased them into things, and, you know, hi there, it's all right. And the dark lights, of course, you can't find the kid because it's so dark. Well, that's a little disadvantage, but it all makes so much sense to make things as easy as possible. The less stress, the better. You know, we've got enough stress in our life without having some superimposed stress. And this is one way to prevent that.
Well, we use a conditioning set response type of technique in training the children. You know, it's like the old technique where kids would memorize a commercial because they've heard it and seen it so many times. You know, they just come in through the house and they sing the little jingle, and nobody sat them down and taught that to them. And basically that's exactly what we do. We pattern the children so that their responses are just automatic. And we feel that that's the best preventative measure. Now, we're dealing also with the child's learning self-confidence. We're dealing with the child learning self-control. Sometimes he's put in a situation where he doesn't immediately like it because we're training him to do something that at first maybe he thinks he should do it a different way. But the other way isn't working and will not save his life. And so basically what we're saying is, no, we want you to do it this way, and then after we've repeated the pattern several times, pretty soon he's doing it exactly the way we want him to do it, and then pretty soon he's feeling pretty smart about himself, that, hey, you know, I'm doing this all by myself too, you know.
And the nice thing about swimming too, that you compete with yourself. Of course there is competition as you get older with other people, but swimming you can always swim, and you can, it's an exercise program, as I said before, but it's something that you've done it yourself. It was a personal victory that you were able to do it, and that same self-confidence and the good feeding of self is so important.
Well, we've seen so many neat things happen, you know, like grandparents coming, even paying for lessons, you know, and they come and they cheer that grandchild on, you know, and it's so cute. And then I've even got one little class, I tell you, they've got to be the most exuberant class I've ever had. You know, no matter what the kids do, the whole parent section stands up and cheers, you know. And the children, of course, think they're just fantastic, you know. And I've noticed that of all the classes that I've had, that particular class, which has so much parent support, is the class that has accelerated the fastest.
Well, sure, yeah, that makes sense.
And it's really a neat thing to see those parents participate and get that enthusiastic about what their little one is doing, you know, because they are out there doing things that some of these parents can't even do. You know, I don't know if you're aware of the fact that our program is developed in such a way that even a non-swimmer can participate, a non-swimming parent. Some programs are devised in such a way that only a parent who is not afraid of the water can get in. But basically what we do is we show the parents things that they can do from the deck position. They don't even have to get in the water. And therefore, if a parent is obese, doesn't want to be seen in a bathing suit, or if a parent is really uptight, maybe they're fearful themselves, they never learn to swim themselves, they still can hand the child over to us. We will not impart that lack of confidence to the child. We will impart confidence. We train them, and pretty soon that parent, I have one parent that called me on the phone and said, guess what, I know how to swim now. And I said, you're kidding. And I says, who taught you? You know, I almost felt slighted, you know. And she says, well, I watched Cindy swim, and I figured if she could do it, I could do it. I just got in there and did some of the things she was doing, and she did. She taught herself to swim.
Beautiful. Good.
So I thought that was pretty exciting.
That's great.
And I really thank you for this time.
Thank you. I love what you're doing.
Well,
Keep it
thank
up.
you very much. Okay, how did that go?